This is the Sports Numbers and Culture YouTube channel. I am Dante, and I appreciate everybody for checking us out again this week. We got the round one of the NFL draft that happened last night. Just kind of recapping and giving some of my thoughts of things that happened. Appreciate everybody that checked us out last week on the NBA preview video. Appreciate anybody that liked, shared, and subscribe. Do that to this video as well. Go ahead and get in the comments. Appreciate everybody from the Sports Numbers and Culture Facebook page, and appreciate everybody that's checking me out from the Black Man Unfiltered Network that knows me from the One and One Sports Show. I do appreciate it, and want to go ahead and get into it today. And basically, for everybody that loves the NFL draft, you've either done a mock draft on one of the simulators or you've seen them. And so basically, we knew kind of what to expect. We knew that this draft wasn't going to be very eventful at the top. And we know the draft kind of started, basically if you look at it, number 8. And that's the only pick that didn't go towards the way that mocks had them. The only change was, and the reason why I say that, I know about the big trade between Jacksonville jumping up, but Jacksonville was actually the wild card, where it was thought of they may take Ashton Jeanty away from the Raiders. But what ended up happening was, I want to say on Thursday morning, you started to hear rumblings and things that happened. And they did go ahead and execute that trade, and they swung for the fences at Travis Hunter, who, they did announce him at both positions. So he's going to play both of them. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out at minicamp and OTAs, how it works and how they're going to deal with him. But him going number 2, Cleveland getting some more draft capital, taking Mason Graham, who was mocked to Jacksonville at 5, so they kept that in order. Of course, let me not disrespect Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick. Him going from a no-star athlete, to being the number 1 overall pick, that's amazing. If you look at it, he's won everywhere he's been with all the different schools. So as much as they say, hey, this isn't the strongest draft, hey, he's a quarterback with some tools, and he made some plays. I felt like, hey, Tennessee has the ability to start afresh, get a new quarterback, and then help and add with that as it goes on. And so it's going to be interesting to see his development. I know they did sign Tyler Lockett, veteran receiver. They already have Calvin Ridley, as well as they have Treylon Burks, who was a first-round pick for them a few years ago, but hasn't been productive. Some of that, maybe that was him struggling to adjust. Maybe that was the offense he was in. Maybe that was the quarterback play. So I'm going to be interested to see if he has new life and what he's able to do. But going into the rest of the picks, when you look at it, everything seemed to just shape out the way everyone expected. At the 3 pick, you have Abdul Carter go. Giants really needed a quarterback. And I'm going to get to that later because they did acquire a quarterback, but I want to talk about that a little bit later. They got Abdul Carter, and they actually picked up Kayvon Thibodeau's fifth year option. So they're going to be coming with pass rushers. They're going to be coming with Kayvon Thibodeau, the rookie Abdul Carter. They're going to come with Brian Burns, and they're going to be coming with Dexter Lawrence inside. So it's like, that's a really tough, formidable front. And so they saw the value. They knew, hey, this is the best pass rusher in the draft, and they took him. So I would say I can't knock them for that move. It's just the other move. I'll critique them about that later. Will Campbell, as they're going to keep him at tackle. They did list him as a tackle. So I think that he was one of the better linemen to me. Kelvin Banks was somebody that I felt like there was, on an elite tier, even though I know I'd heard Will Campbell's name the whole way. So him to go to first tackle wasn't a surprise. Mason Graham, as I mentioned earlier, he went at the 5 slot. And then you got Ashton Jeanty taken off the board at 6. All Cowboys fans, such as myself, I won't say our hopes and dreams are crushed. It's just that, hey, that was a guy you really would have liked, but it was almost impossible for him to get there. To be honest, I know people were at the end of the season, Cooper Rush should have just lost more games, but we'll leave last season and that in the past, and we'll deal with the here and now. Armon Bimbu went as the 7th pick to the Jets, and I'll give this to the Jets. You did take a tackle in the first round last year. You took him high, and you know Tyrus Smith, who just retired, was a stopgap there. and then now you take Mimbu to play on the right side. So you've got your young tackles, you got Garrett Wilson as a weapon, and you got Breece Hall as a good running back. You got Justin Fields coming in as the new quarterback there. So I really want to see what he got, a receiver that he can, a number one receiver that he can go to, more protection up front. And, really I'd say quality running backs, because not only do they have Breece Hall, but they also have the running back from Arkansas, last name Allen, his first name escapes me. But they have, so they have good backs that they can go to and rotate. Even though there was a lot of trade rumors and speculation about Breece Hall coming up, towards the draft. And I didn't really buy it, because I know, of course, if you want to draft, if you want anything to sell, you just attach the Cowboys to it, whether it be a draft trade, whether it be a free agent move. Even though they don't make splashy free agent moves, unfortunately, that's just the way of the land in the NFL world. So after we get there and we clear those picks, Jalen Walker was the top most consensus mock draft pick from the top insiders, the bad insiders, the people that's just flying by the seat of their pants and doing these mocks. But they did not go with Jalen Walker, even though they need edge rusher. They went with an obvious need for myself that I felt like they have, and that's with the receiver, which I would say the best pure receiver in the draft, Tetairoa McMillan, out of Arizona. They went ahead and drafted him. I felt like, hey, crushed my soul as a Cowboy fan. Crushed me. I was like, man, that's a guy I really wanted. And they went with McMillan. That's a big target. This guy's good at 50-50 balls. I know they got Xavier Legette, and now he can be the number 2 guy. And they got Tetairoa McMillan, and I think that's going to be good, because you saw that they were able to make some plays with Bryce Young. He was able to make some things happen. But now when you get an added weapon, it's more of a, hey, do you want to see another step from him to see what he can do? Because they did obviously make the investment and all the trading, all the capital to get him. You have to give him weapons, especially in this NFL. Instead of saying, hey, we need this defensively or we need that, we'll figure that out later. We'll give the quarterback the blocking that he needs. We'll give him the weapons that he needs. We'll give him the coaching that he needs. As they did, change coaches pretty quickly there with Bryce Young in Carolina. Then when you got to 9 is where I really thought that Shedeur Sanders was going to go. I felt like, hey, that was a good option for them to take him, especially with the uncertain. First, with 2 things, the averageness of Derek Carr and the recent injury of Derek Carr. There was really, to me, no reason to not take Shedeur. They decided to go with more protection for Spencer Rattler, Derek Carr, whoever the quarterback decides to be. And then with Kelvin Banks out of Texas. We're happy that, as far as Texas making the comeback, I was happy to see them get, 3 players drafted, but get Kelvin Banks drafted in the top 10. I thought that was a big deal. I felt like, early in the season, he was looked to be high up there, him and Will Campbell and Armu Mimbu jumped over him, but I still felt like he could be just as good, as not better than those guys. He has the ability. He came on campus as a true freshman when Texas needed some O-line help in the worst way, and he came in day 1, took the job, and he didn't relinquish it until he got drafted. So, but going in at 10, the Bears is where the decisions that make you say, and they went ahead and went with Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan. And it was kind of like, hey, everyone thought the consensus was Tyler Warren was the best tight end. Also with the Bears, also having Cole Kmet. So it's like, hey, I know they got Ben Johnson. So you're thinking is the new head coach. It's like, hey, are they going to go with some creative, wild formations and, doing with the 2 tight end sets? Are they going to, split Cole Kmet or split Loveland out? Because Loveland is not really an inline blocker. And it's all about, and Ben Johnson seems like what he did in Detroit, he is all about putting players in what they fit to do. Not, hey, this is my scheme, this is what I do. That's the old NFL. The new NFL, you have to take players for what they are and adjust and play them to their strengths. So I want to see what Ben Johnson does with that. San Francisco was basically someone I thought was taken. That's where I saw Kevin Banks mocked. But they are a team that has some needs and things they need to fill out. They went with Mykel Williams. And then on the clock, of course, was then the Dallas Cowboys. And I know I've seen some fans be okay with it. And I know why they were okay with the pick. Just because if you looked at any tea leaves, there were some that came just this past week or two about an offensive lineman. And in fact, Nick Harris from the Forward Star Telegram actually dropped another tea leaf and about the pick and was just like, hey, basically once those things happened, it was kind of like a tip off of what was going to happen. And of course, the pick was another Tyler, which is funny. The Cowboys did put out the Spider-Man meme, which was funny. But Tyler Booker out of Alabama, All-American player, tremendous size, tremendous strength. I've heard knock on him is he's not super athletic. I've watched the draft YouTube guys, and I want to say shout out to y'all. The work y'all put in the grind. The draft is truly the Super Bowl for the scouting community, the YouTube scouting community. I really love that, and I hope, hey, maybe one day I can get some of that film and do a little bit myself and just kind of give my thoughts on it. But that'll come down the line. And hey, if you do know anybody with that connection, hey, tap me in the comments, let me know. I would love to get in with that and kind of see how it goes. But Tyler Booker, just strong, powerful, physical player. I like the he was interviewing with on doing the rounds, did the Cowboys secret audio with the Cowboys flagship 105.3 The Fan, but his interview on, I think it was a set with Micah Parsons and him doing over on Bleacher Report, when he was just like, hey, he likes to play football and it's a game that we love and he loves the snap after snap. He's taking the love of the game from you as he's just beating you down. And I was just like, yo, hey, obviously it's draft night, so he's prepared and everything, but that's something really cool to hear say, especially as the physical dominant player you're saying and that you're saying he is. And I will say this, for the Cowboy fans that I know that were fixated on a receiver and were thinking, oh, well, Matthew Golden's there. Yes, Matthew Golden was there, but if you look at it, you did, of course, lose Zach Martin. And I know for myself, I did not want to go into the season with like, hey, we're going to go ahead and go with Brock Hoffman. I feel like he did great last year where he filled in, and he's a guy that gets under people's skin. There's nothing wrong with having a quality depth backup of Brock Hoffman. And Brock Hoffman has the ability to play center, so he can play those swing positions. Other guards were brought in, like Robert Jones from Miami. He's brought in, and maybe he could play on the left, play on the right. Hey, you need offensive line depth. Things happen, as well as you do have a young quarterback that you're going to be playing in preseason. So you're going to need some level of protection for him when he plays in the game, so he's not just running for his life. He actually can play a real game. And sometimes when you have those guys that are in training camp, those camp bodies, they're camp bodies. They're getting ready to go and be pro in something other than sports. And it makes it really tough to evaluate a quarterback when you have those guys there. And so I feel like the pick is solid. It's a meat and potatoes pick. It may seem boring and everybody wants to flash with the receiver and the running back, but I'm okay with it. Reaching out and reaching for a defender or a corner there. A corner that wasn't good, I wouldn't have been happy with. I know I've been talked off of Will Johnson just because of medical concerns and speed concerns, which that's the one thing I will say. Say what you want about the combine, but if you are a corner or a receiver and you're just too slow, that's where it becomes hard to draft you, or do have to take you later, because I have to take that into consideration. We don't have the most premier athlete, and this is a position where I need premier athletes that are running and chasing and shadowing and mirroring guys. So, overall, I feel like the Cowboys are still in position to, hey, you've got a guard there, and you have a quarterback now that is getting a little older, and you need a good, strong pocket. So from former All-Pro and Tyler Smith, an ascending player in Cooper Beebe at center, and now you have Tyler Booker at guard. So you have that pocket there where he can step up. Now, of course, Dak, you still want him to roll out some, but he's going to be able to have a good, clean pocket, powerful guys. Of course, the guys in Philly, you got to face the Jalen Carters of the world. you got to face that defensive line. So why not get and improve a hole that you had and take the best, what you felt like was the best player. You can still get a running back later in the second round. Now, I will say it does take in jeopardy with Matthew Golden, who did go later into Green Bay. Shout out to Texas Longhorns for 3 guys taken in the first round. That isn't happening forever for Texas. So clearly showing that they're back. Shout out to Steve Sarkisian and what they're doing over there. But receivers are coming off the board. Emeka Egbuka went 19 to Tampa Bay. So it's just like, hey, you're losing some of the receivers. And to me, I wanted receiver because I felt that the way the draft was set up, if you didn't get one in the first round, I don't know if you're going to get a guy in the second round that's going to be a day one guy, except through 32 picks. Luther Burden, who was originally the first mock of all the mock people out there, you guys know it. He was the first pick that they were saying, oh, they're gonna Luther Burden. We need a number 2 receiver. So he didn't go there. So it's interesting to see what happens there. Skipping around here on some of the picks here. Walter Noden, who was looked at as a Cowboys target, he went 16 to the Arizona Cardinals. A guy that you guys would have seen me flip out if we would have took Shamar Stewart, who has career 4.5 sacks in 3 seasons, has all the physical gifts, combine warrior, but actually had pressures, but he couldn't finish. He couldn't finish and get to the sacks. And that's something that did concern me. And that was a guy that was the Cowboys did like. And I'm so glad they didn't take him. Again, another Texas guy, Longhorn that went, Jahdae Barron was actually the first corner taken. He was taken by the Broncos. And as my friend said in my group chat, it's like, man, they're really trying to make sure that they can compete with the Chiefs and because that defense is just so locked down. You got Patrick Surtain the second out over there locking it down, and you got Jahdae Barron who's played the slot in his career, who's played at safety. So you have a versatile defender there. He showed you he has the speed, where he was like a 4.4 flat guy, in the low 4.4. So he can run. He's definitely can tackle. He can blitz. So that's just the defensive coach's dream there. The dream of, I guess it wasn't much of a dream, of Omarion Hampton going all the way to 44, even though he was mocked to the Cowboys. Foolishly, he was mocked to them at 12 by Mel Kiper and many others. He goes 22nd to the Chargers. So the Chargers got something going there. They want to run the football. They have Coach Harbaugh there, and he's got the quarterback. He got Joe Alt last year at the offensive line. And so it's just like, hey, they're trying to build the line, that physical brand of football that he wants. And so Hampton's definitely going to help with that. I would say that the other really draft pick that stuck out from the first round, Jackson Dart. You trade up. Shedeur Sanders, I'm telling things out of order. Draft is falling perfectly for the Pittsburgh Steelers to take their quarterback of the future and not have to mess around with the mess and the madness that is Aaron Rodgers. I guess they stuck to their board and they took Derek Harmon out of Oregon. They did need a defensive tackle. From what I'm hearing from the scouting community, he is a guy that is a straight pass rusher. He's not much of a run stopper. But the way Pittsburgh rolls, they got Cam Hayward to take him under the wing. I'm pretty sure they'll develop some of those things and work on that with him. But they don't have much of an interior pass rush. So I've heard that's good. It's just seeing Shedeur just fall like this, where it's just like, hey, I think the top 2 quarterbacks was Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. Doesn't have the mobility and the crazy arm, so maybe you push Cam Ward there, but his ability to process information and his accuracy and the way he's turned programs around, I was for that. He has the good intangibles along with the accuracy. Not super athletic, but he's not a statue in the pocket. So I didn't have a problem with him going high, but obviously the NFL did. And I know he didn't interview well with some teams. And the Giants actually, the Steelers passed, and the Giants trade back in to 25, and they take Jackson Dart. Guys, if you go and look at, what I've seen from the scouting community, the tape cut-ups, some of the other people scouting and evaluating him, sometimes he can just make some bonehead decisions. And I just don't know about that. And, I was watching that game, was it Florida, chance to make it to the SEC championship. He folded. He absolutely folded. I've seen Shedeur Sanders in those moments, he'll rise to the occasion. So, but only time will tell. I know he didn't get drafted in the first round. He's on everybody's board. It's like, hey, he's one of the top people left. And so now we got to see who makes that decision. The Panthers did some moving around. They were in the draft, and they went and they took Jalen Walker. They took him at 15. They traded back into the first round, and they took James Pierce Jr. As an edge rusher. And Jalen Walker is a guy that you're going to hybrid play. So they're trying to, add some juice to their pass rush. As always, the Ravens just stand back and make decisions. They took Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. But I'll say of the later picks, one that I really wanted, Detroit, they took Tyleik Williams. And it's just like, that's a guy I had seen slided maybe in the second round to the Cowboys. So that was important. Eagles took Jahai Campbell, good player. So, they stayed back. Well, they actually made a trade and traded up to get Jahai Campbell with the Chiefs. And the Commanders took Josh Connolly out of Oregon to tackle. And so I felt like, hey, they're trying to boost their offensive line. They had a great offseason adding weapons. So why not add more protection for your quarterback? It's Jay Daniels. Got to keep him upright. And I say kudos to the Chiefs. Did it again. They got Josh Simmons. They needed an offensive tackle in the worst way. They waited. I heard of some character concerns from Simmons. And I've also heard on top of the character concerns, obviously, the injury that he's coming back from. And so there was a bit of a risk there. But if anybody can take a risk, it can be the Chiefs. And so, hey, I felt like that was a good, solid pick for them. But the one thing I like, but I don't like about the first round being just the first round, I like that you get to reset and the team gets to kind of go through and look at their boards. And the second round is where teams really get busy. And it's like, hey, good football players, let's just go and get them and draft them. They're not worried about the perfect prospect. But I do hate that the draft is just this big Super Bowl for team building and everybody that loves it. And then you get the first round, y'all hyped up, and then it's like, man, we gotta wait. We gotta do another work day, and then we gotta go through and do rounds 2 and 3, and then we get what's called the scout day on day 3. Where you got rooms 4 through 7, and just the guys that, guys like Dane Blugler, with those draft guys that'll be able to go dive into the deep dive and see, what players are there, who's got draftable eligible grades. And then of course on Saturday, the last day, is the priority free agents. That's where a lot of you guys was, hey, I never heard of him. Why didn't he get drafted? You look up, he's on a team, got a good signing bonus, and making the roster, making an impact. Like a guy like Marquise Bell a couple of years ago. Shout out to the HBCU, shout out to the SWAC, FAMU, is where he went to school, Florida A&M University. And he's been an impact player for the Cowboys, actually got a new deal. And so I'm thinking he's going to be pushing for playing time. So things like that and moves like that, team building wise, are really important. But I'm still excited to see where Shedeur goes, to see that he's going to have an axe to grind, and he's going to want to go and take the starting job, and he's going to do well. But I hope whichever team gets him, they have a decent O-line, they have some weapons, and a decent, I'm not even saying great, a decent offensive-minded offensive coordinator, a head coach, just so he can go out and do what he needs to do, make some plays, and prove that, hey, like my boy Vash Lombardi says, man, these guys can't draft. These people can't draft. They don't know what they're doing. And there's a lot of teams like that. And speaking of that, as I wind down the video, the Cowboys have not gotten a lot of production from their draft classes here lately. And that's something that has to change. So with them going with the safer pick with Tyler Bookey, I'm not mad at that. But now the real work starts. They have to have a better day 2. You only got 2 picks in the next 3 rounds. You got a second rounder, a third rounder, and unfortunately Jonathan Mingo was who you traded your 4th rounder for, which would end up being a high 4th rounder. So I think they need to reset, make some good choices. If a receiver's there, fine. But I really need a quality runner to go along with the offensive line they were building on the interior. Clayton Adams coming in with the development along with the offensive line coach about developing. I need to see some serious development from Tyler Guyton, some more development from Terrence Steele, and some great running schemes. So I'm looking forward to that to see how it goes. But the last thing I do want to touch on is this. I saw that during the draft there was like a lot of murmurs online about Shedeur this, Shedeur that, and looking at other guys and talking about how, hey, Jackson Dart is better. To be honest, I saw the grades as well. You can't fully grade everything for the draft decisions that were made. You're not going to be able to do that until later on. Unless a guy's just an abject failure year one, like a Johnny Manziel or something like that, where you knew like, hey, this is probably not going to work. Unless it's something like that, I will say calm on that. I would say be kind of chill on that. I would say same thing with Cowboy fans. You want the receiver. Don't be mad at Tyler Booker for having an outstanding college career and the Cowboys took him. Don't be mad at Tyler Booker or as a fan base, the fact that, hey, if the guy they wanted wasn't there, they should have traded back. Of course, and Jerry Jones is notorious for, oh, we don't pick up the phone's got a ring. Just total BS. And so don't be mad at those guys. Let him come in and earn his respect, earn his keep, and let him show that he can do a good job and handle the position. But I will be back for a full recap of the draft of everything that happened, kind of hitting on some of the important stuff of who was taken, if there are any trades with picks. George Pickens is a popular name that's been on the roster. On the trade block allegedly, who's a bit of a headache but has immense talent. So I'll be on the lookout for that. I'll also be over on TikTok, Sports Numbers and Culture over there as well, just kind of giving a little quick breakdowns, and then the long forms will be here. Of course, I'm always with the Facebook group, Sports Numbers and Culture, so feel free to join me, follow me on TikTok, and of course, man, like, share, and subscribe to this video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.